In this video, what I want to walk you through is the Wheel of Life and how this is such a powerful tool for you to use to actually make a big change in your life in a very easy, tactical way that you can get started doing it, and a walkthrough of my process. About a decade ago, I was very successful in one category of my life, the business and the finance. And I was going full throttle on that so much. But internally, I was a mess. I was having anxiety attacks. I wasn't hanging out with my friends. My health was I was super skinny. I just was not doing well. And the thing is, nobody knew because I was holding it all together. And that led ultimately to a burnout and a whole recalibration of thinking about things holistically. This is why the Wheel of Life is so important. We want to look at our lives holistically. We want to have fun. We want to play. We want to have great health. We want to be emotionally available. We want to find love. We want to have friends. And if we can actually find an equilibrium and homeostasis within our life, not to say that it could be always fully balanced at one area, but having a tool that allows us to assess where we need to focus, to recalibrate, this is the most important thing. And that's exactly what the Wheel of Life does. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you a process that I do. I do it about every quarter to see what's happening with my life, what areas are working well, what areas need a little extra focus. And then I'm going to show you a process that I use to define a goal in that one area of your life and actually have a plan to get there. So take your journal. You can also download the link to this playbook in the link below. And I am so excited that we will be able to go do this together, because my whole goal for you is to live a very successful version of your life. So let's dive in and get it started. There's just so many different categories of what life is. And so when we think about it, the best way to unpack this is you unpack it in the Wheel of Life. We know from looking at holistic wealth what that is. And that is not only your physical health, your movement, what you're eating, just like how good your body is, but it's also your mental health and your overall emotional well-being. This is absolutely critical. Definition of wealth is what's in your wallet, your net worth, your finances, and it is also inclusive of your contribution to society. Spirituality is your connection to something greater than yourself. You could also call it your purpose. You could call it the universe. You could call it God. Think about this as your purpose beyond yourself. Self-love and personal growth is all about yourself. It's about being able to have a very strong relationship with who you are, and it encompasses self-care, self-awareness, and personal development. Fun and play are the experiences that you get to do in your life. It's the travel, it's the hobbies, it's the leisure activities, it's all of that. And professional career and learning is just that. It's where you actually want to go and develop what you want to continue to learn. And relationships and friendships is all about everybody, your acquaintances, your community, your friends. And love and family is, yes, the love, intimacy, and then your immediate family as well. We're going to actually assess the Wheel of Life here. So what we do here now is, knowing that these categories exist and we've identified those categories from ourselves, now what we're going to go do is we are going to rate the category. 1, that's not good. 10, out of the ballpark. This is where it's important to be radically honest with yourself. Sometimes this radical honesty, if you've never done it before, it is hard because you don't want to, the word that comes up is admit. You don't want to admit that there's a problem. But the moment that you can put light and you can put focus and you can put attention to something that you've identified just isn't working, it means that you are willing and ready to put the work into it. So please try to reframe this, because you're excited to live a holistic life. You're excited to grow. And the truth is, growth is uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. It's not sexy. It's not. It's getting radically honest with yourself and just doing the work around it. So please, as you do this, you don't have to show this to anybody. If you have invisible marker, just put some invisible marker, but just be honest with yourself when you do it.
And so as you do this activity, what you're going to do is you're going to have, each of these categories going back to the definition. If you feel like you need to modify that definition for yourself, go ahead, and then you're going to rate it. So relationships, let's say it's a 9. Let's say love and family, it's maybe a 5. Fun and play, it's a 1. Profession, it's a 10. And so you would go through this and you would do it of what it currently is, not what you want it to be, but what it currently is. So then after we've done this work, we're going to ask ourselves another simple question. What's a 10? What does a 10 actually look like? Because sometimes this measurement that I just said, hey, it's a 1 to a 10, 10's knocking it out of the park. So you and I agree 10 is knocking it out of the park. But what does that actually look like for you? Because your definition is going to be different than my definition based off of who we are and what we believe. So then what I want you to do for each of these categories is go back and actually just like what bullet point, what does spirituality, what does a 10 actually look like? Self-love, what does it look like? Health, what does it look like? Wealth, what does it look like? Go back and do that. It's going to be transformative because then we will be able to really have an idea of where we're trying to head. Now, we all know that goals are really powerful. The idea is, yes, goals are about achievement, but certainly they are about this. What is so powerful is the transformation that is going to happen within yourself, the identity level transformation, the spiritual, that self, that growth level transformation, when you actually focus on the process of doing this. Because you are not going to be the same person, because you would, if you were the same person, you would have already achieved that goal. So something obviously in you is going to shift for you to then go achieve that goal. So that is just the power of this. And as we think about this and we think about goal setting, what I want you to be now thinking about is, okay, well, if I looked at the past and I've looked at my past decisions, I looked at my past actions, what, and the things that I didn't necessarily achieve, but maybe I transformed, but what were those things that I think actually held me back? I want you to just be honest with yourself and I want you to think about that. But now, what I want you to do is there's one category of that wheel of life that we know is going to be your focus point. You cannot focus on all of the areas, because if you focus on all of the areas, it's like multitasking. You're never really going to focus on anything. And what I want you to experience is a massive fundamental change. It is for you to focus on one thing and do it really, really well, because that one area that you are going to focus on potentially could shift and help you navigate in other areas. Then that is the cool thing, because this is the truth about being radically honest with yourself, is like, okay, yes, I love this. And what could be the one area when you go back into that wheel of life that you filled out, right? When you go back here and you think about the one area that was probably closest to a 1, maybe it was a 1. If you focus, you get to decide what area that is. And you might be saying, what are you talking about? This is where a lot of our reality, the way that we think and perceive and experience the world is 95% dictated by our subconscious. And so oftentimes, I'll give you an example. One area that I wanted to work on, I recognized that I was annoyed about certain aspects of my relationships. And so I started to really kind of go and be honest with myself and starting to like the process, right? The process of actually doing the work. And then I recognized that actually most of the issues were my perception of the relationship, and actually they were with myself. Understanding that and focusing on myself to then become more aware, to allow myself to shift my perspective, immediately shifted the way that I was showing up in relationships. But let's say one of your areas is wealth, and that is just like, okay, that's the area that I'm going to focus on. Okay, perfect. We know what that area is. And what I've designed for you is a way to dig deeper into this, to understand what needs to shift on a tactical level, but also on an identity level. Because when you can shift on the identity level and obviously the tactical level, that's where you will have much more success into achieving that. So before you kind of continue watching this video, please make sure that you've decided what that one area is. And if you feel that you cannot pick those areas and it's between three, narrow it down to two, and then ask yourself, sit with it, close your eyes, just meditate on it for a moment and really feel, what is that area that would make a big shift in my life? Your body's going to tell you. Your body absolutely will tell you that. So once you've picked it, I've given you a lot of journal prompts. So there's several pages to actually kind of refine this goal and to use my strategy for actually achieving your goals in a very specific way. But I'm very excited for you to use this. And here are just a few prompts about the different sections that we have. So, spirituality, self love, personal growth, all this. This is just to help you if you want to kind of tease out a little bit more into your goal. But the idea, guys, is that you are now equipped with a tool that is going to help you know where to focus for 2026 or for whatever year you're going to use this. The wheel of life is absolutely so powerful. And once you've achieved an area, like let's say you've measured now where you're going. So you've decided, okay, I'm picking spirituality, or I'm picking wealth. Okay, so you've gone through it, you've measured it, so you've kind of laid down the plan. You've looked at your resources. All of this is in your book. You've looked at your resources, how much you can control, the habits, the strategy, the identity level shifts that you're going to make. And then you're going to figure out how you're going to measure that. And that is going to be your focus. What I like to do, because sometimes life gets overwhelming, is to boil this down also to one word. What is that one word related to that one goal that you have onto this wheel of life that you can anchor into, that can help you, that can guide you through this journey that you're going to go on? And as you've made that transformation in that one area of your life, what I suggest is putting something on your calendar and doing this in 90 days and seeing where you can actually go and measure what you've actually been able to boost up in 90 days by just focusing on one area of your life, not all of them.